How do I get good at Final Fantasy 16? Well, it's quite simple. Sit down on the couch, kick up your feet, attach the ring accessories that heal your health, help you with perfect dodging, and of course, grab a sandwich. You only need one hand. Okay, in all honesty, there is a lot to learn in Final Fantasy 16. While things like RPG elements are not really a thing in this game, there are things like combining different moves from each dominant, upgrading your characters with side quests, seriously, 3 potions square, how to easily stagger enemies to apply max damage, and so many more. What up, you nerds? Town here, 5 Direct, and subscribe to the channel so I can eat again. My plane ticket back to the States killed my wallet. If you enjoyed the video, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated, as it tells us you enjoy these types of videos. Also, comment down below your best tip and we'll make sure to pin it. If you don't enjoy the video, feel free to leave a dislike and tell us how we can improve our videos going forward. All right, let's get started. While Final Fantasy 16 might not have the deep RPG elements like in Final Fantasy 7 Remake or other games in the franchise, there is still a lot to try and explore in this game. I mean, heck, it's already broken a ton of records, so people must be enjoying it. In fact, we are covering a lot of the major boss fights, mini boss fights, unique encounters, and more. So if you need help on any of those, please check out the playlist pinned down in the comment or in the top right corner to check all of that out. All right, let's start with some basic and advanced combat skills to start the video off. If you've ever played an action game like Devil May Cry, then this could be very new to you. Dodging, countering, and combos are the name of the game here. It can be a little weird at first as you think you've dodged an attack perfectly, only for the enemy sword to wind up, pause for a second, and then slap you across the arena. Dodging, as stated in the game, is handy for not only avoiding attacks, but if you get the timing down, you can perfect dodge and actually counterattack to do more damage. In fact, the game is actually pretty generous when you can dodge, counter, attack 1 to 2 times, and immediately dodge again, counter, repeat, and so on, depending on the enemies that you're fighting. So a good habit to get into is really trying to look at when the enemy's attacking you or way of attacking you is about to hit you, then hit that dodge button. As you progress through the game, you're going to unlock the Titan Dominant, basically the Brock ability, which gives you the ability to block using circle. Each dominant ability, so Phoenix, Lightning God, etc., have different abilities for the circle. For example, with Phoenix, you do a dash move towards the opponent. With the Titan, you can actually counterattack with up to 3 fierce attacks. Now, if you're seeing where I'm going and seeing what's going on screen right now, hopefully you can see some of the potential here. You can start combining these attacks, dodging, countering, and blocking all at the same time to deal massive damage while not taking any damage yourself. You'll need to keep an eye on certain moves that can't be blocked, but again, simply dodge out of the way, get a quick counter in, and dodge again if you need to. It can be a lot of fun, and it kind of speaks to the combat of this game because I'm 30 plus hours in and I'm still enjoying it. Continuing with combat tips, we need to talk about staggering. Now, it should be pretty obvious, but pretty early on, you should notice a stagger bar underneath mini bosses, bosses, and other enemies you're fighting. It's basically the kind of yellow orangish bar below the health bar. Sorry, I see colors a little differently than most people. This will usually last for about 2 rounds of that said stagger bar. So basically, you'll deplete the stagger bar, get a good chunk of the health down the enemy, it'll recover, they'll do it again, and usually by then you'll either be able to defeat the enemy or maybe a little bit into the 3rd one, because they still take damage as you're trying to take down their stagger bar, just obviously not as much. Now, in order to take this bar down, you simply just have to hit the enemy. You'll notice though that special moves and your weapon actually have a stagger stat on them. The higher the number on your sword or the star on your moves, the more damage you will do to that stagger bar. Like we said before, when you deal damage to the stagger bar, you are doing some damage to the health bar, just not as much. So obviously, get the stagger bar down all the way, then deal the big damage. The big question is, however, how do you take down the stagger bar fast? How do you deal maximum damage to said bar? Well, one of the best ways is to find ways to increase your stagger stat on your weapon. This can be done by crafting, buying, or finding weapons in the world. We'll talk about it later, but we don't actually recommend crafting weapons on your very first playthrough of the game, as they actually become available pretty easily and after you've completed most missions, and you can simply buy them. You have a lot of money. Again, we'll talk about that in a different part of the video. The other way to quickly take down the stagger bar is to invest into some moves into Garuda. Garuda being the wind dominant. Now, every dominant has abilities, and each of those abilities have a certain star stagger that you see on screen right before you. However, if you notice, Garuda has the most when it comes to stagger. Now, one of the best moves that you can get from this dominant is actually the move called Gouge. This one recharges pretty fast, and you constantly will use a claw attack at the enemy. I mean, just look at this stagger bar going down right now on screen. It is clearly the best. I mean, I've scoured the internet on Twitter, on YouTube videos, shorts, TikToks, you name it, and I cannot find a single move or just simply abilities from this particular dominant that do more stagger damage. So it's pretty helpful. Now, once the bar is gone, it's tempting to start using your most powerful attacks on the enemy. However, you don't want to do this just yet. You'll notice that for every hit that you land on the enemy, the damage increases for a total of 1.5 multiplier, or 150% extra damage. So what we recommend is using some of your ability moves that are powerful but not your best. Then when you see it hit 1.5, like on screen right here, hit the enemy with your strongest moves. So basically, I'd say between halfway to the stagger bar recovering to, well, basically when it's about to fully recover. That's when you should be hitting the 1.5 marker, and you can deal the most damage with some of your best moves. Finally, right as the bar is about to fully recover, this is the time to start busting out the Gouge move again from Garuda. It should be fully recovered, and you can just start hitting the enemy again. This is a good way to start taking down the new stagger bar that's fully recovered now, since the enemy still has to get up, and you're going to notice that the bar is probably going to be about a third of the way gone already, depending on how powerful you are or if you've mastered it. As you get more and more powerful though, some moves will actually hit better than Gouge will. Gouge will still be best at getting some of the stagger bar down, but in terms of the damage that you do, you might find that, oh, maybe I don't need Gouge and I can use a more powerful move. Again, you're able to try this stuff out at your leisure. This is why experimenting is really recommended and can really lead to some cool combat discoveries. There's just a lot here in this game. Now, before we move on in the video, I want to give a small side tip to kind of finish off the combat section here, and that is customizing your abilities. You'll notice as you play, you have a total of 3 dominants that you can have attached to your character. There are more in the game, but you can only use 3 at one particular time. With those, you'll have 2 abilities for each dominant. For the Phoenix, you could pick the Uppercut along with Heatwave, for example. The only downside of this is that if you want some big flashy moves like each element has, then you'll have to take up one of those ability slots, and those recharge times can take a long time to fully recover. However, one thing you can do is, let's say you want the Garuda's Gouge move, but you don't like any of the other moves from that dominant. You can actually attach that move to, say, the Titan dominance, like we show on screen right here. The major difference between switching each one is things like the circle ability that you get, Titan having the block, Phoenix having the dash move, and so on. Feel free to customize everything to what you want to use. Also, your skill points. If you spend it on something that you like, but then later on, maybe you find yourself not using it as much, you can actually reset your moves to get those skill points back and invest them into other abilities that you want to upgrade. They can be a little expensive, especially those big flashy moves. Okay, enough combat talk. Let's talk other parts of the game. Side missions. Now, I know some of you might be going, oh, dude, the side missions are pathetic. While some of the reviews have said to skip side missions, that they're super long, which, let's be honest, no game has ever had perfect side quests. Many have good ones, but not 100% of the time. I can guarantee you, you should do some of these side missions. Again, I know they're not the best, but they are good, and they're kind of typical Final Fantasy. Could Square make these better? Absolutely. We even talk about it in some other videos. But this is what we have, and they actually do a pretty decent job, at least some of them do. So we know that side missions are not for everybody, especially some of the smaller ones. You need to 100% be doing these particular side missions with a plus symbol on them. Notice the difference here? We have a normal side mission and a, what I'm going to call a plus side mission. These missions don't only help build and learn about parts of the world, but give you the best upgrades in the game. Not to your skills or anything per se, but to other things in the game that are just going to make them a lot better. Want to increase the amount of potions that you can carry? You need to complete one of these side missions. Want to get certain weapons that you can only get from the blacksmith? Need to complete one of these missions. Do you want to ride a chocobo? Say it with me now. You need to complete one of these side missions. Actually, for the chocobo, it should be the first of these plus side missions that you actually get after you do the second time skip. Still early-ish into the game, so don't worry, we're not trying to spoil anything. Also, make sure to check Clive's room for extra missions that you can get in the forms of letters. You'll get some normal letters, there'll be some normal side quests, and there'll be some of these plus side quests. Now, obviously, some of these missions are very simple as go here, pick up said item, and return it. I know, again, that these are not some people's favorite side missions, but they're really not that hard. And again, the plus side missions really allow you to meet some new characters, see some different parts of the world that you might not have explored, and they can be very helpful. I mean, heck, there are certain side missions that are not these quote unquote plus side missions, but man, do they expand the world and the story, and yikes, they can be pretty dark. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't done it yet, you'll know. The next tip I want to talk about is your main weapon. Now look, you basically get a sword. That's it. Everything else is ability. Very early on in the game, you're going to meet a blacksmith, and you'll also notice that you'll be able to simply buy weapons and armor at the same time. From what I've personally gathered, and after talking with friends who went crazy and have beaten the game multiple times already, and through my own experience, but also friends that are in the Final Fantasy difficulty, this is what I've gathered in terms of, should you buy weapons, should you buy armor, or should you craft them? I know it can be tempting to want to craft everything, especially when you see weapons and bigger numbers, but I'm telling you right now, and from what they've told me as well, try not to craft weapons in your first playthrough. Now, if the weapon takes materials that you have multiples of and you have no problem getting more of them after spending said materials, then by all means go ahead. But there are some weapons that can look really powerful, look really cool, but only one of a particular material, and it can be pretty difficult to get, or you only get like one throughout your entire playthrough. Those are especially the ones you don't want to waste these on. Again, we know it can be tempting to craft the next weapon after you've completed missions because bigger numbers. But trust us when we say, if you wait a little bit, especially along a mainline mission / do a special side mission as mentioned above, you will most likely be able to see that particular new weapon in the shop. Take the diamond sword that you get halfway through the game. I needed one more item to craft it, but I noticed I wouldn't be able to get it for a while because I needed to defeat a particular enemy. Well, joke was on me because I entered the next mission, started going halfway through it, and boom, I actually got the item. And I was like, oh, awesome, I can craft this now. Only to then literally come upon a shop and have it for sale. And I was like, oh, well, no need to craft it then. I'm gonna save that material, buy it real quick, and boom. And don't worry about money. You get tons of money in this game, especially if you're doing the side missions. Money should never be a problem for you. Oh, also regarding the plus editions of certain weapons, just don't craft them on your first playthrough. They're not really worth it. The 5 to 10 stat increase really doesn't make that much of a difference. And again, the whole point is that you save your materials for your second playthrough. I'm assuming, not everyone, but I'm assuming that most people are going to want to go through a second playthrough because, while the game does have challenging moments, it's not the most particularly hard game on the first playthrough. The other difficulties, that's another story, but that's what this video is for. It's to help you get ready for that. Okay, on to the next main point, and that is how health, potions, and Torgal's healing ability works. Look at the good boy. Whenever you take damage, you might notice that your health bar goes down, but there is this darker color bar that's not fully gone. This represents the health that you can recover when out of combat or from Torgal's healing ability. Side note for Torgal's healing, it doesn't heal much, but if you attach the accessory ring to basically auto control him, then he will heal you more often when your health is low. If you wish to heal fully, you're going to need to either level up or use your potions, which honestly you should if you have extra potions. Potions are super cheap to get from stores, and since you're rolling in gold, it's going to be really no problem. Also, in the world, if you find a potion but you're maxed out per se, picking up these potions will actually simply heal you because you're going to be full. That's a really nice quality of life feature right there. Also, before we move on to the next part, I want to add a small extra bonus tip here: renewal rewards. As you progress through the game, you will start to notice that main missions, side missions, bounties, and so on grant you more than just the regular XP, skill points, and guild, the money. You'll start to earn what are called renewal points. Now, you don't actually spend these. If you visit this particular NPC right here in the game, she will have a list of items you can get that will be donated to you in-game based on the number of these points that you have. Don't make the mistake I made where I thought I had to spend these to get these rewards. I mean, 700 of these materials to get 2 meteorites? Yeah, right. So as you progress through the game, check back now and again, and you'll be able to get some new items. Some can actually be very helpful, like some accessory items, armor, and so on. Plus, some of these will actually give you a lot of extra skill points, which you can then spend on your abilities. The final thing I want to go over in this video that a lot of players might not even know about is the stage replay. Later on in the game, you're going to find a stone tablet looking thing that allows you to enter an arcade mode to practice combos, and even later on, I believe around the second time skip, you'll unlock what is called the stage replay. This basically allows you to re-enter certain story-specific moments in the game. Now, the cool thing about this is that if you find a chest or an item that you missed the first time around, you will actually keep that item after completing the stage replay. So if you miss an item or a particular material that you want to use for crafting throughout the game, this is how you can do that. Go back, replay the mission, and boom, you can get it. This is a great quality of life part of the game, and it needs to be in a lot more games going forward. Not just simply Final Fantasy, but other games in general. And there we have it, how to go from apprentice to master knight. Also, one little bit here is simply don't forget that if you find certain parts of the game, especially the combat, to be a little difficult, it's okay to put the accessory rings on that can help you with dodging and healing. There's nothing wrong with that. As you improve though, try taking them off and really try to delve into the combos of this game and some of the combat. Also, those big side missions, again, like we've stated before, will help a lot in getting you new upgrades to make things even easier and just more fun. What is your best tip? What are you doing in Final Fantasy 16 that you think everyone should know? Let us know down below in the comments. Again, if you enjoyed the video, a like and a sub would be really appreciated. It really does help us out. Also, check out our TikTok, link below, for even more content. I've been Talon with 59 Direct. Thank you so much for everyone for stopping by the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Johnny.